and welcome back to the Call to Action podcast. I'm James.
I'm not, and just ignore the fact that I'm in a bathroom.
And it's Paul here.
All right, and if you guys didn't see, since the season's over, we wanted to transition to more diverse topics. So this week we'll be discussing our top 10 films of 2018.
Ooh, yeah.
It has nothing to do with John Rokas, don't worry.
And also, I got this mic for Christmas, so I can be binaural all over the place. And I will be doing that for a few months because this is just a lot of fun to play with. Um, Before we get into this, I wanted to ask you guys, what was your criteria for making the list? Anything special going on?
Say that again?
Was there any special criteria when you made the list outside of just your 10 favorite, best, whatever?
This is just my 10 favorite. I mean, I don't really rank them in terms of quality. Like, I don't really know how to do that. So I just rank it how much I enjoyed, how much it, accomplished what it set out to do, basically.
I try to take everything into account. I mean, I put quality in there for the most part. If something was high quality, I definitely would consider it higher. But I also weighed in how joyous the film is, as you will see by at least one of my picks, which did not make a top 10 anywhere else except for maybe with me.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
I don't know. I don't know if you think you do. We'll find out.
That's gonna be fun then. Jeez, okay. And I'm pretty much on the same thing with Nat. Mine is a mix of quality and entertainment because it's sort of hard to separate the two. Uh, and it will be very interesting. And I'm not sure who it is, but one of you, your mic is very staticky. So just be careful of where the actual button thingy is, so you don't go against your clothes or hair or million parts you have. For those who don't know, the way we do this is just very simple. We each go 1 to be like a 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 8, 8, 8, etc. Who would like to start their list?
I guess I can go. So my number 10 is Mine in the Gap, which is a documentary directed
Yeah!
by Bing Liu, his first film. And oh my god, this film, I did not, even with all the hype that everyone said how good this movie was, I did not expect anything going in because I just thought it was going to be a straight up skateboarding documentary about these three kids, but it was so much more. It was, I think the best way to view this documentary is to go into it completely blind, and I think the director did something really special, finding like a commonality between his friends and him, and just making a movie about that. I think it's really something special. It's my best documentary of the year by far.
Yeah. I have to agree. It was my number 11. It just got bumped out at the last minute. But yeah, it is absolutely stunning. For someone who doesn't like documentaries like myself, it was amazing to see how engaged I was. Being a Hulu original, I saw it at home, and I think some of the value was sort of lost because I was so distracted by this thing. Hopefully, no one just saw my list. But yeah, and it it there's a lot of power in the idea it has with how in this small town everyone is connected by similar themes, and what you'll be seeing soon in our bottom 5 of the year, how we can use the subtext of racism properly, and
Oh,
it building the rest of the storytelling. I think this is his kid's first film as well, and he did this magnificently. And before we go on, I do want to say I'm still repping Schmodown, so diehard fan.
you're Giants.
Yeah. Oh, boo now.
I have not seen Minding the Gap yet, so I cannot make my list. It's on my watch list, but I kind of lost track in December a little bit. I kind of got a little bit behind, so I can't really comment on that one yet, but I've heard great things. So
Yeah, I didn't really want to go into detail because I didn't want to ruin it for anyone. So just go into knowing as little as possible. And also, I should note that I said it was by far my best documentary of the year, and I've only seen two. So just take that as how you may.
So yeah. So Paul, I'm gonna have you go next, but just want to clarify. before we get too deep into this, how many films have you guys seen this year? Just 2018 releases.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it's about 57 or so, somewhere between 57 and 60.
Hang on, let me pull it up. It's about 131 so far.
Damn, there go you. I just hit 87 today. So my goal before the end of the month is going to get up to that 100 mark. So sadly, some films may not be featured, but I doubt that because it's hard to break my top 10. It is very tight. Paul, you go next.
Sure. I wish I could fit a spot for my number 11, which was Searching, which I absolutely loved. But
we'll get into that later. Don't worry.
I know you will, and that's okay. And I hope it. I'm happy to talk about it because I did love it. But just bumping it out is the little Netflix film called Kodachrome, starring Ed Harris and Jason Sudeikis. I had to sneak Ed Harris in there because he's my boy and he's my favorite actor of all time. And I thought this was one of his better roles. He took a generic script and could be generic character and just made some real truthful choices with it. A little humor, a little angry, grumpy old man type. But Elizabeth Olsen's also phenomenal. And Jason Sudeikis surprised me. I'm not actually a big fan of Sudeikis as far as dramatic role goes, but I thought he held his own, and I thought him and Harris did a very good job together. So I had to sneak that in just my top 10.
I will say it's interesting how one of the first things you say to describe the film was calling it a generic script in your top 10.
Sometimes performances can win out generic scripts in my taste, at least. Because there's a lot of generic scripts out there, but I was an actor. I went to school for acting and everything else. So I usually concentrate a lot of times on performances. And so like I can take a generic script, take it or leave it, but when I have a performer that gives me like a truthful performance like Ed Harris always does, that's always going to be high on my list.
I think suffice to say, I haven't seen this film. I forgot it existed, frankly.
Damn.
So the fact that it's featured on the list is astounding.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 10. Oh, go. Yeah. So my number 10. Those of you who are a fan of P from the countdown we feature on the show can scream in unison when I say, or scream low in unison when I say my number 10 of the year is Mission Impossible Fallout.
So low. So low.
It is extremely low, and I will get into why. Just sort of like a description of what you're going to see in the rest of my list. Much of this year was bridled by very overt emotion. I think two of the films that were just missed the list were Minding the Gap that we just mentioned and A Star Is Born, and you can see where I'm coming from. Mission Impossible Fallout, I have a slight bias because the theater I saw it at 4D, which was already very visceral, this new experience. So probably one of the best theater going experiences for me, at least, if not the best. But just this sense of utter immersion of like when Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill and all that do the stunts, you're in the scene, you're in the movie. And I think talking about the emotion of the film, that's where it got to me. It takes a lot for me to more than emotionally invested, to get invested in the action, where I want to stand up and shout and fist pump in my seat, because this entire movie is my fist pump moment.
Easily.
Exactly. And
I will.
Yeah. For that reason, it is my number 10 film of the year, on top of having some of the best scenes of the year and one of the best women of the year, Rebecca Ferguson, my queen, one of many queens.
She's arrived for 2 in a row now. That's actually in my list. I won't say where yet. I guess I'll keep that as a surprise. Should I talk about it now, or should I talk about it later, you think?
You should talk about it now.
Okay. Then it's funny you say this, as far as I just talked about Kodachrome with Ed Harris and the performance being whatever. This is not necessarily a performance film for me as much as it is a just extremely well-crafted movie. It knows what it wants to do. It commits to it 150% and just is beyond competent with it. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you know exactly what you want to do with something and you just do it to the best of your ability, how can you not be successful? It's hard to compare something like that with like an emotional moment. Try to compare Mission Impossible to say like a Roma or something. It's totally different films. But you got to take what did this film want to do, and it succeeded entirely with what it wanted to do.
Yeah, I
Tom
absolutely
Cruise.
agree. I think it's the best film in terms of action, but easily like, among all the best films of this year. And it has a special place in my heart. It didn't make my top 10, unfortunately. It just missed it. But
Boo!
Boo!
Boo! Don't worry, you'll be
Ow.
hearing that a lot this week, I'm sure. And then back to Nat for your number 9.
oh, okay. My number 9 is The Hate You Give, which I think
Yes.
is an amazing experience. Maybe amazing is not the right word. It's just a very emotional journey. And, I didn't think this movie would hit me as hard as it did, but I came so close to bawling my eyes out because this movie is based on reality, and like these things happen to people every day. It has something to say, and it says it so well. It packs such a big punch, and it would be hard for me to watch it again, but I really want to.
I think that I can guarantee we're going to get into this later with different films that tackle racism, because it's just almost like a peak here for films talking about racism in a positive way. Again, next week in bottom 5, we'll get into the negative side of that. But I think
I don't know what film you're talking about, but
oh god, that's gonna be fun. I think what this film tackles amazingly is almost, I wouldn't call it immature, but there's like a very childlike perspective of it. One of the first things you see in the film is the father, Russell something or other, I forget his last name, and the mother, whose name I'm also forgetting. I'm sorry, but it's them sitting down with the kids and saying like, this is how you approach police, because they're being taught from a very young age, this is how you need to handle situations with authority, specifically the law. And on top of that, I forget the character's name, but Amanda Steinberg. They play. Oh, by
Sorry.
the way, gender neutral, amazing person. They play this role very childlike, in the sense of a lot of things are black and white, and I love that, because as well as just having this very pointed view on racism, you're still getting that sort of adolescent perspective. It's a very narrow line to walk, and I think they do it amazingly.
Yeah, I think low-key Amanda Steinberg, she gives, barring a certain European redhead, she gives by far the best female performance of the year, and she's going to be overlooked. And she's as good as anyone this year. And I think that this movie is really important, and I'm glad that so many films are tackling racism because it needs to be talked about. Like this needs to be discussed. So I'm glad this movie exists.
I hope the European redhead you're thinking of is Isla Fisher in Tag, one of the best supporting performances of the year.
I mean, the whole movie's great, but let's not get into that.
And back to Paul.
Okay, my number 9 is one that's definitely a polarizing film, and I know it's a little bit nostalgia fueled, but just like Richard Eric Jarvey, Ready Player One.
Boo! Boo!
Steven Spielberg has been mired in this Oscar-trying but not really caring Lincoln Post films that are good, solid films. He's trying to come back to what made him tick, that fun family adventure film. And it taps into nostalgia that I grew up in the 80s, so this is all me. So I'm seeing everything on the screen that was my childhood. Is it Steven Spielberg's best ever? No, it's not. But it's a true and tried professional doing what he does best. And there's some sequences in there. The Shining sequence, top notch. It's not a perfect film, but it was a very, very enjoyable film, whether you like it or not. Bring it on.
This is my bottom 5 of the year.
Oh.
No.
Bottom 5. Oh.
Yes.
My
In
God,
terms of pure enjoyment, this is definitely in my top 5 of the year. It's not in my top 10 overall, but I love this movie so goddamn much. Like, it's such a fun.
Down goes James.
It's like if Steven Spielberg just drank a bunch of Ecto Cooler and just masturbated onto the page. Like, here you go, heathens. 80s nostalgia right up the ass.
And I
if Steven Spielberg does that, it's still artwork.
It's not artwork. Are you kidding me?
Steven Spielberg has earned the right to do whatever he wants, and if he wants to masturbate on the screen, let him masturbate.
He
away.
did that
I'm not
already.
gonna
He
watch
wasted it with Kingdom of the Crystal fucking Skull.
I won't get into that one. I read the book. I love the book, and I love the magic of it. What can I say? I think it's a beautiful tale, and I hope Steven Spielberg comes back to making more movies like this than he has done for a while.
I'd be much happier if he half-assed a drama than if he half-assed an adventure film. Because half-assing a drama, you get The Post, which it's boring, but at least you have Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. In this one, you have terribly written female characters whose only purpose is to service the male. And I will get into that more next week because I really don't like this movie. I need to make it like this. I really don't like this movie.
Well, we all free to be wrong.
You want to fight? Well, to prove to you that I'm not wrong and that Paul has terrible taste, my number 9 is Steven Soderbergh's film Unsane.
Oh, good choice.
Boom.
Very good choice.
One of the most unique-looking films of the year, as well as one of the best performances of the year from Claire Foy, who is way better in this than she is in First Man. Also, I'm gonna dig through really quick just to get the right name, but very rarely do I get scared in a film. What's his name? Let us just swallow some time. Joshua Leonard in Unsane is goddamn terrifying in the best way possible. This is another film that I saw it in this whole laptop, and I was just laying down on the couch, just relaxing, and my entire body was seizing and moving in absolute disgust. That is the sign of a good film. And on top of that, like I said, it has a unique look. The cinematography is amazing, and the score is one of the quiet, saving graces of the film.
Agreed.
Yeah, it draws and pulls you in. Like I said before, it gets under. Wait a second, I gotta do this. It gets under your skin in the best way possible. And I'm having way too much fun with this mic.
You're looking almost a little attracted to it there. It's getting a little scary, but.
Oh, am I? Oh.
There it is.
Have either of you seen Unsane?
Yeah,
I did. Oh, sorry, Nat.
I've seen it on a plane, and yeah, I mean, I really like First Man, but I can't really argue that this is easily Claire Foy's best performance. It's amazing, and it's amazing that they filmed this. I think they filmed this just on an iPhone. That's really
iPhone 7, I think it was.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
Impressive. And I didn't love this movie as much as you did. It's my number 60, but it's still very good.
Bastard.
Listen, I still really like it. I like 60 of my top 60 movies. So, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Well, I'll say that I agree with everything that you said, James, about it. It has one of the great atmospheres in a movie in a year. It brings you in. It kind of it has a similar feel to Hereditary in that you don't really know which the unfamiliar narrative of the leading character. You're not sure if she actually is crazy or if she's telling the truth. You don't know which side to go on. And then they do a deft job of teasing it and then kind of pulling it back, and then teasing it and then kind of pulling it back. But yeah, great performances by both Leonard and Foy there. And great innovative what Soderbergh does, at least. Movie on an iPhone. What's next?
I believe he's doing another film on an iPhone this year.
I did hear that.
On Netflix. I'm not totally sure. I know he's collaborating with Netflix this year. Maybe on iPhone again. I don't know. But suffice to say, I am very much in anticipation of it.
Yes, I agree. I am too.
Yeah, should be good. All right, so my number 8, I have a feeling we'll be talking about this film later, but it's If Bill Street Could Talk. And This
We
is
will be talking about it later.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I haven't seen yet.
It's just filmmaking at its finest. Like, this is why I go see movies. It's just so beautiful. Like, beautiful doesn't even begin to describe it. Easily the best love story of the year. Sorry, but the way that they show these two characters and their whole journey with the guy being in prison for something he didn't do, and the girl's whole dealing with being pregnant. It's just there are really no words to describe how much I love this movie and how it made me feel. And it was just an experience I just can't describe. Such a good movie.
I can describe it for you if you'd like.
Oh,
I think we're gonna see it later in my list, but Alfonso Cuarón, and Barry Jenkins have two of, without a doubt, the best directing jobs of the decade. And the way he utilizes color, I think it's largely oranges and blues, to just create this lovely little like warm hug within the film is perfection. And I have to specifically call out Nicholas Patel, because every time let me get the characters' names. Tish and Fonnie like stare at each other, and together they have this sweet little love theme, and it just melts your heart. It's so beautiful. And if it wasn't obvious, I am a slut for just really well directed films. And I will say, honest, in full honesty, I still haven't found the genius of Moonlight. I need to watch it a couple more times. But Barry Jenkins with this film has bought me. I am on board for anything he does ever.
yeah, I don't think it tops Moonlight, but they're very close. And I'm officially a major fan of Barry Jenkins. Like I can't wait for his next project.
I didn't see it yet.
You better.
I will. I did. It's on my list. I fell behind like in the end of November, December. Just had a lot of stuff going on. And I just fell behind in my movies, so I had a lot of catching up to do still. But
You're watching a certain film many, many, many times.
Maybe it could be. All right. So moving on to number. Let's see, where we 8 now? So.
Yeah, I'll be right back. Something's going on in my rifle. So give me a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Keep talking.
Don't use the bathroom. We can see you. While we're waiting, Paul, and go ahead, set up your number 8.
My number 8 is going to be the one that you others are going to boo horrendously again, I think. At least everybody I know boos it. But this one, I am an unabashed fanboy. As far as it's concerned, there's nothing else in the galaxy, hint, that makes me more excited than to watch a film set in this universe. So I took it as far as I could take it. I don't think it's a perfect movie, but I still enjoyed the hell out of it. I'll just go ahead and say it. Knack and return boom. Oh, there it is. So boomy anyway. Solo, Star Wars story.
Go
ahead. We only want. And I'll tell you what. First of all, I can't lie. You said a Star Wars film in front of me, I'm most likely gonna love it. The fact that it's like number 8 says something for me in a way. So usually Star Wars films are up number 1, 2, and 3 for me. So I will say that
more like 4, 5, 6. Am I right? Thank you.
Aaron Wright had a unenviable, impossible task. I think he did a heck of a job. I think Donald Glover was awesome. There's a lot of fan service. Yeah, there's a lot of fan service. But when I came out, what I loved about most about it is being an unabashed fanboy. I'm a big canon guy like Karloff. I read all the books, all the comics, and everything else. This one connected with the canon, like all the different canon points, more than any of the Star Wars films had. You can see Darth Maul at the end there with the legs and everything else. I loved it as a setting up piece. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get any further with it, but I think Holden Ehrenreich did a great job. I think Harrelson did a good job. It's a fun adventure. Come at me. Go ahead.
It was okay. I had
Yeah.
It's fine. It's serviceable. I mean, you're by yourself, so your last name is Solo. What the hell is that? What is that?
There's
Okay,
some
yeah.
dumb
That is
points
the
there. I'm not gonna
one,
argue
one of
that.
the dumbest moments in film this year.
Yes, I will agree with that.
I did mostly to Donald Glover because you'll never meet a bigger Donald Glover fan than me. But I mean, it's enjoyable. It is what it is. Nothing more to say.
I would call it less than enjoyable, mostly because of the film was too dark. Like you couldn't see shit half the time, especially in the Kessel Run section. But I will agree, Aaron Reich somehow did a good job. Because you go in with the highest of expectations, thinking he's going to be the next Harrison Ford, and he's not. But that's fine. He does his own thing, and it's done very well. And that just left for whatever reason. Hopefully, we fix that.
Yeah. I'll agree with that. I think though, but I'm considering all the mess that was made of it with the whole Lord Miller thing, and I would like to see the Lord Miller cut and see what it was. But
Absolutely.
But with all that in mind, with Ron Howard coming in and changing everything around so much, I mean, the fact that it came out as enjoyable as it was is pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah. I'm glad Nat came back because there's a very important film that he needs to be on here for. My number 8 is part of a franchise that is one of the sole reasons I can find myself to not hate the entire genre of sports films. My number 8 film is Creed 2.
Creed,
Again, in this year of emotion, Creed 2, while I did not cry, I wanted to curl up in a ball and just have happy tears and sad tears at the same time. On top of that, not only do you build up the legacy of the Creeds, you build up the legacy of the entire nation of Russia. In 1 year, in 1984, we killed communism, and in 2018, when Russia is somehow our greatest ally, we turn to them and say, "You're shit, but you're slightly less shit than we thought." The idea of expanding on the Drago family line, I don't know how or why, but it works. And like this, again, I say this with minimal knowledge of the Rocky franchise. I've only seen Rocky and Creed, but I love the step back and analyzing the Creed character. Because when I hear about like 2 through 5 and even Balboa, it feels like it's very much centered around the match. Whereas in this one, we get Adonis's relationship with, what is her name? Damn it.
Thompson.
Tessa Thompson's character. And them trying to start a family and what happens with that. And also Stallone's role with Adonis, trying to come to terms with, like, I can't let you step into that ring because last time I did that, your father fucking died. And it works so much better than it should have. Like going into it, I was having tempered expectations because people were like, oh, it's not as good as Creed. It's basically the Rocky IV of the Creed franchise. It's like, okay, it's Rocky IV. It'll be great. But no, it is fucking phenomenal. And I will say, I think it's me and Nat are in it, Paul. I'm not sure if you are. One of the Facebook pages that we're involved in is doing they're doing your own nominations. One of the best scenes of the year is Adonis's entrance to the ring, and you know which one I'm talking about because, my god, I'm a slut for music, and that moment was perfection.
You want to go now, or you want me to go? Because I got a lot to say about this. So
go ahead.
I have a lot to say too, but spoiler alert, it's on my list. So should I save that for later, or should I go now?
Go ahead now.
Okay. Rocky franchise means so much to me. Like this is the first series of movies I've ever watched, and I fell in love with them. It's what made me get into movies. it means so much to me, and to see this spinoff do as well as it does. Creed is my all-time favorite movie of the Rocky series, and just this movie made me feel so many emotions. And I remember it's magic. I love it. I love it so much. Uh, yeah, it doesn't really take a lot of risks, but it doesn't need to. I watched it. This movie is the first time I ever watched the movie twice to the theater. Like I had my cousin wanted to go see it. I was like, all right, let's go. Like usually I would say no, I already saw that, but I want to see this movie as many times as I can. And I don't like rewatching movies. It just made me feel so many things. It's truly a special film, and I love it to death.
Yeah, I can't say anything better than that, but I will try. Uh, James, you said you've only seen Creed and Rocky. I grew up Rocky. I mean, I'm an Italian American. Rocky. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I
Go
bought
Waker.
Rocky Balboa on DVD. That's the closest I've come to any of the other films.
I will counter you one point. I like we said mostly how the Rocky series is about the matches usually, except for Rocky One. I will say Rocky Balboa actually fits in better with the Creed franchise than the actual Rocky franchise. To be honest, but
Yeah, I mean, like the most famous part of that film is a speech, not a fight itself.
right, absolutely. I will say I liked Creed 1 a little bit better only because Creed 2 didn't have the one moment that Creed 1 had, the "I'm not a mistake" speech. That one got me crying. That's because I'm adopted myself. So I don't know. It's something that just hit me the right way, but that was my moment. So I like Creed 2 a little bit less than Creed 1, but god damn, both of these films shouldn't have been good. Like, you take a look at this process, you're like, you're going to take the son of Carl Weathers and put him in his own feature film. You're going to have an old aging Sylvester Stallone coming out. That just sounds awful, but it worked. And then you're like, you're going to go back to the well. And now you're going to go back to the well. You're going to go like double down and bring back the son of another villain from Rocky 4, which is an action movie, not a drama at all. And you're telling me you're going to make that work? And yet here it is. They fucking do. They make it work. And Sylvester Stallone puts on some of his best acting he's ever done in his life. And Michael B. Jordan, I don't know what else I could say about him. He's spot on as the character. They just take this concept that just shouldn't work and hit it out of the park twice. Then you're right. The walkout was phenomenal. My favorite part, honestly, maybe being an old school Rocky fan, I love the Rocky and Drago sit down in Rocky's restaurant there. Two old grizzled veterans going toe to toe verbally instead of in the ring. But every part about it, man, every part about it, I'd go back, see it again and again. Excellent.
When that I just wanted to get up from my seat and just punch the air. Like that was
Absolutely.
I do want to set like a side note really quick because I'm not sure when we can get to this next. Fuck you, HFPA, for the awards you're giving out. So we're doing this on the night of the Golden Globes as it's going on right now, and I'm getting updates, and I'm very upset. Let's just say, best comedy / musical. I'm tearing into your asshole next week. If it wasn't obvious already.
Huh.
Oh God.
I wonder what that could be.
Yeah. You talking about the "I'm not a mistake" moment. I haven't rewatched all of Creed in a while, but there are two moments which, spoilers ahead, I think not trumpet, but like are very close. It's the moment when Adonis, I'm gonna look up her name because I'm gonna keep referencing her. Right when they find out that she's pregnant, it's when Adonis and Bianca just sit down and like, what if she's like me? Like, what if she's deaf? And as someone who has a lot of experience in the deaf community as well, I learned ASL in high school. It's a visceral moment thinking about like, would I love my child any less if they are less? And on top of that, after he loses the first fight, ends up in the hospital, him just trying to hold it together and still like crying through gritted teeth, realizing that he couldn't live up to his father's legend and that he almost left everything he loved behind. I'm getting chills right now. 'Cause,
Yeah.
again, like I didn't cry to it, but Jesus Christ, was I close?
I don't disagree. Actually, I want to see it again. I only saw it the one time. Creed was actually more of a grower for me too. The first time I saw Creed, I liked it a lot, but the more I saw it, the more I fell in love with it. So I think Creed 2 actually might be a similar thing for me, and it might be just as good by the end of my third watch or something to that effect. But first time through, I mean, I said I still love the film. I know whether it's the Rocky Four of the franchise or not. It's only the Rocky Four because the Dragos are in there partially, honestly. But it's so much more emotionally Rocky 2 than it is Rocky 4. But again, the Dragos even like were made interesting. That was amazing to me that they made those characters interesting to the point where I want to see a Netflix show. I want to see the Dragos. Like I was like, weekly as a TV series now.
Ivan Drago had like 4 lines in Rocky IV. They gave you so much depth. It's amazing.
Thank you.
If he dies, he dies.
If he dies, he dies.
He dies.
So good.
Nasiba. Yasiba.
Oh man, and the rest of my list is just gonna get worse. So go ahead, Nat. What's your number 7?
Wait, one more. Let me just throw one more little quick bit. It's like a minor spoiler for Creed 2 if you haven't seen it, but my heart was touched when he opened the door and he saw Milo Ventimiglia. I can never say it. Ventimiglia at the end there with his as a touch because the throwback to Rocky Balboa. I kind of was like hoping for it, but like they're not gonna do it. Are they? They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then bam, he was there, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Well, it's like
Man tears.
It's one of the things that really makes me want to see Balboa is that Stallone's actual son was in Rocky V, and his son died, and then he goes to approaching the son's storyline in Balboa. He's like he's talking to his son that he can never say himself. I'm getting fucking emotional right now, man.
Exactly right.
It speaks a lot to
Exactly right.
when I can like look back on a film, and it's getting me just as emotional when I was in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. The girl next to me was like, "Oh my god, it's Jack from This Is Us." I'm like, "Fuck you, it's Robert Balboa."
That's right.
Moving on to my number 7. I don't think either of you have you even seen this movie? I don't think. But it's Overlord.
I want to see it.
Still want to see it so bad.
So
well, since no one else saw it, you can shut up. We'll move on to Paul.
yeah. Well, okay. So
your Call of Duty zombies.
This movie had no right to be as good as it was. Every single moment, I was completely enthralled. It just nails horror. It nails action. It nails war. It's just amazing. Like I couldn't believe it. How was this good? And oh my god, I really can't. It's badass. It's the most badass movie ever. That's all I have to say. Like I don't even know what else to say. It's badass. Go ahead, Paul.
All right, I've heard good things. I've heard great things about it. It's definitely on my list to catch up on. But number 7 is well, for me. This is where Avengers: Infinity War falls.
It's like let me just embrace someone else. Well, go ahead.
Okay.
Make my day.
Avengers: Infinity War to me was more amazing. It's actually the surroundings that make it more amazing than the film itself. I'll give you that. The culmination of like such a long process to get to where like you could have all those characters on screen at the same time. It was just like literally like a comic book brought to life. Like I grew up reading comics, Avengers, DC, everything. And all comic book films are always good. They're fun seeing them on screen, but never really has it ever felt as close to a comic book as this one did. You just had those matchups, those mashups, and everything else. The only negative thing I had to say about it was that, to me, the ending was a little cheap in who they chose to fade away. Because to me, it seems like, all right, you got a Spider-Man film coming out, you got a Guardians film in the works at this point, and everything. So it's kind of like, I guess you know they're going to come back anyway. You got to kind of know that. But in the theaters, I'm going, okay, well, I know Spider-Man's coming back, so it kind of cheapens that ending for me. They could have made characters who didn't have anything announced, or people like Cap or Iron Man, somebody that could have like we could have thought maybe, holy shit, is this actually going to happen? Is this actually going to happen? But all in all, though, it's still, I mean, it's a blockbuster, but it's phenomenal. It's fun.
So good.
I still torture my 14-year-old dad. She cries every time I say that to her.
Just one of the most memorable moments of the year was when we were reviewing it for the show, and I played that in full, and Danny and Aixa were both screaming at me to stop. The same day that we all watched, same fucking day, I played it, and we were all just emotional wrecks. And it's no secret I have it on my list. It's one of those moments. I'll speak the same thing for Black Panther when we get to honorable mentions. That it felt like cinema history was being made, especially when you have the Battle of Wakanda and everyone's fighting, or you have the Battle on Titan. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. We're in the end game now. There's so many little moments in the film that culminate. I think this is one of the films where the sum is greater than its parts. Because if you remove every other film around it, it's decent. My dad went and saw it on my recommendation, having seen 0 seconds of any of the other films in the franchise, and he still enjoyed it. He understood most of it, but that's on its own. When you see it with the 18 prior films attached to it, it suddenly becomes this. Do not speak the word of the devil in this house.
That would just throw you off guard. I wanted to see what you did.
It becomes this epic, and it's almost indescribable, the kind of emotion you feel having all these characters who, like, individually you get attached to, risking their life to save the universe. And this is one of the few times in any film when the idea of the universe is at threat is wholly believable.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a special film, and it was such an epic event that I don't think will ever be duplicated. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're frozen. It will never be duplicated ever again. Just like when you think about it, it's remarkable that they had these 20 movies and that it all culminated to this. And it's just really special. It didn't make my list, but it holds a special place in my heart because everyone knows I'm a huge comic book fan. I'm a huge MCU fan. And what they did was just amazing. And I can't wait for Endgame because Hawkeye's back.
Agreed.
So, I have a fun story for you guys. I'm just going to give it a little back, like a little, what was I looking for? I'm going to set up the film, my number 7 for you. The top 3 trivia bits on IMDb. The film features so much blood that the prop team would often run out of fake blood. The music was inspired by John Carpenter, and the director mentioned Wild at Heart, Drive, and Under the Skin, as well as many Cronenberg films, as references when pitching to studios. My number 7 is the French film Revenge. Directed by Coralie Faget and starring Mathilde Lutz. It is... I think the best way I've heard it described is a 70s pulpy feminist revenge thriller with
Sounds good.
Stunning cinematography and some of the best shots of the decade. And on top of that, just utterly, I'm going to use this word soon, but confident performances. Like, you can feel everyone on this film, even the assholes who get like 10 minutes of screen time and that's it. They just walk onto the set and just own their characters. And much of the film I can't even describe or review accurately because it's more of an emotional thing. Because again, it's pulpy. It's very much like an in the moment, you want to murder these people as well as the character. The way they set it up until the inciting incidents, which the inciting incident is the hardest I fist pumped this year, including Avengers Infinity War. It is just so badass.
All right, you've sold me. I'll add it to the queue.
Again, so much fake blood.
I love blood. So
speaking from a feminist angle, the film tackles a female character owning their sexuality in a way you don't see from a lot of male directors, where yeah, she may dress loose and yeah, she may want to fuck around. Doesn't make her any less of a woman. Just it's like the whole idea of consent is perfectly built up in the first 20 minutes, I want to say. And then after that, it's just this hyper violent revenge fantasy that is just stunning.
okay, I wish I could say more. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Get on it. It's on Shudder.
You're selling. I got Shudder, so I'll take a look. It's on my
I got
list now.
Shudder thinking about it. Boom! All right. Now you go ahead.
All right, so you're probably gonna have this on your list too, James. But my next film is Blind Spotting.
Yeah!
Yeah. So if you haven't heard of it, or you have, it completely lives up to the hype. Like everything.
Continue talking. I'll be right back.
Okay. It's
Go ahead. Continue. I'll be right back.
like, see you later.
Just talk to me. You gotta sell me on it. I haven't seen it yet. So
Okay, so I talked about The Hate You Give before, how it touches upon like racial issues and police brutality, and this film also does that, but it does it in a completely different way. Like, it's unbelievable the approach they take with it. It's so creative, and the acting just blew me away. I am shocked by how much I love this movie. It made me feel every single emotion under the sun. It made me feel happy. It made me feel sad, and it made me so angry. And it made me laugh. It's just a complete movie, and it needed to be told.
In the 5 seconds I heard, that was a wonderful review, Nat. I think you mean this film, Blind Spotting, with All Hail the New Team of David Diggs and Rafael Casal.
There it is.
I got it right without even looking at it. That's how much I love this film. It's like I said before, it's a visceral experience. Some of the best scenes of the year. One of the best dream sequences I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this film has my top one, my favorite of all time film of this year. Not of 2018 of this year. And you'll know what scene I'm talking about once you've seen it.
Oh wait, okay, wait. Do you mean the dream sequence?
No.
You mean the final sequence?
Yeah.
Yes. I am glad. I don't mean this for. I didn't mean for this to be related, but I'm glad for this very. I don't want to call it urban because that sounds vaguely racist, but this sort of human approach to rap as a genre and as like a form of communication. The way words are used, as simple as that sounds, was done perfectly. And again, this is a year which has very intense and very astounding approaches to racial bias on every level of democracy in America. And this is one of the best in, even more than a decade, in this century. One of the best approaches to racism I've ever seen.
And he did a way that I've never seen it before. And it was just so creative the way they tackled this issue. It was unlike anything. In a year that's chock filled with films about racism, things out.
Paul?
This is I'm laughing.
Get on it.
This is a weird transition now. All these movies are so powerful. We're talking about racism and stuff that needs to be talked about. And my number 6 is absolutely none of that.
You're gonna say the movie I think you're supposed to say.
My number 6 is Venom. I liked when Venom had boobs.
You might do it. You might do it. But this is the film that I'm going to say wins my Wedding Crashers Award. This is the movie to me in which it means absolutely nothing to the world except for that I had a smile and raucous laughter in my face the entire film through. My wife and I both did. Tag.
There it is. There.
God damn it!
I knew it. I knew you were gonna say that.
There was only one good thing about this film, and it's Isla Fisher
Everything.
fucking
Isla Fisher was the
saving
best
it.
thing about it.
Isla Fisher saved the movie from being terrible.
I did. Well, Isla Fisher was. I will agree with that. Isla Fisher was the best part of the movie. Where she's the most quotable. My wife will still go around saying, "Suck my ginger nuts," because she got so into it. But I loved every bit of it. Like, it reminds me of my friends. I had friends just like this growing up, and we would have done something just like this. I love John Hamm. I love Jake Johnson. I loved everything about it because I just couldn't stop smiling and laughing. I walked out of the theater going, sometimes movies are supposed to be important. Sometimes it's supposed to say something. Sometimes it's supposed to be, let's get deep into political racism. And sometimes it's just fucking funny just to forget the world and laugh for 2 or hour and a half or whatever long it was. And I laughed harder at this than any other movie this year. Dropping a bomb. I don't know if you can be friends anymore, James, or not. I don't know the way you're looking at me, but
Oh no! This is to the Golden Globe winner, cause oh my god! I know you guys don't want it spoiled. I'll try to be quiet, but one second, I turn it up. Oh my god! What are you doing?
I'll find it out in a little bit.
You will. Oh, yeah, so suffice to say, I'm not a big fan of Tag. It's like it being funny, that's fine. I agree with that. But it was largely unfunny. Like it's very hit and miss. And it had one very specific joke or sequence of jokes that ruined the film.
I could see that. I can see that doing that for me. But for me, it comes back to one of the things I wanted to touch base again. Just I have friends like this. Like these are friends that I have a friend like this who we would have done this. I just felt such a connection to that kind of camaraderie, that kind of brotherhood, that I couldn't help but to say, "This is me. This is me partially."
When you put
maybe not jumping from the
same
balcony.
level as blind spotting.
Yes, the same level of enjoyment that you guys had.
Oh no, this is a much better. This is a much higher tier of enjoyment because does Tag have rapping? Does Tag have rapping and police brutality? No, I don't think it does.
I'm not on him though, so I mean,
Does have Isla Fisher beat the fuck out of
Where's
people.
that in your list?
okay, so I fucking love this movie. I'm completely in agreement with Paul here, and I'm on my list right now, and I think Tag might be my comedy of the year. Like easily, it's the funniest movie I've seen all year. It's so good.
Absolutely.
Packs an emotional punch too at the end. I won't spoil, but it's so relatable. Like it just touches my heart. See all these friends in their 40s, and they've never lost that childlike wonder. This movie made me feel so good. I love it so much. And James is a crazy man.
You my boy, Nat. You my boy.
Hey, boy, Blue.
You're my boy, Blue.
James, you just need you just need a heart, man. You just need a heart.
I have a heart, and you'll see it later. But from the artistically vapid to the artistically oozing out of every corner, my number 6 is Roma from Alfonso Cuarón. I'd say
I might as well just jump in real quick before I say anything. That's my number 5.
Yeah. So yeah.
So go ahead.
My 4, 5, and 6, I'd say are probably the 3 best films of the year. So my top 3 are very personal. I can recognize that. But speaking of the confidence I mentioned earlier with Barry Jenkins, Alfonso Cuarón gives one of the most overtly confident directing jobs I've ever seen. He owns every second of the film. And shows in his cinematography as well. He was his own fucking cinematographer. The way he captured every scene, the slow pan across, how he directed his actors. There is no better way to describe it other than purely confident. I'm going to see if I can get the actress's name correctly with my perfect accent. Don't say anything about that. I will call you racist against white people. Lisa Aparicio. She was amazing. One of the notes I read about the film was they weren't allowed. He didn't. Cuarón didn't tell her any of the scripts basically like the day beforehand, so she had to basically improvise it on the spot. And I think it works incredibly well with how they approach the character. It feels very, oh, fuck you! Okay.
James versus the Golden Globes Part 3.
Paul, you're going to be happy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, boy! I am not! Well, yes, my number 8, 6, whatever it is Roma, because it is just one of the best made films of the year. The score is amazing, cinematography is amazing, every performance is perfection. It is just an astounding piece of art. More than just a film, it is art.
I will jump on that train and say there are 3 directors that are living right now that I can think of that have not made a movie that I've seen that I haven't loved. And that's Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve,
Denis
and
Villeneuve.
Alfonso Cuarón. Yeah, I can never say that name. I'm bad. I'm sorry. I'll try. But all 3 of those, and Cuarón is one of them, and just it's amazing to me. This Children of Men was phenomenal, and I think I still might edge Children of Men over this just a touch, but overall, this is every single shot was a piece of artwork that you could hang on a wall. Like every shot was used specifically to tell the story. There was not a wasted moment. But one of the best things that Cuarón can do as a director that I've found is he knows how to let a story breathe. He knows how to let a story get told without a lot of action, without a lot of dialogue, with just like shots of an actor performing. And not even performing, just being. That's how truthful it is. He does it like no other director alive. Like he just captures these people at the right moment, at their best time, at their best place, or their worst time in their worst place. And it's a thing of beauty, absolute beauty. Like I watched it, and I just was enthralled the entire time. I can't even say anything. I can't even say anything else besides that. But it is beautiful, absolutely.
I do want to give us a little specific shout out for, like I mentioned earlier, with the awards me and Nat are doing. I have 10 nominations for Scene of the Year. I had to bump it up to 11 because I had 3 specific scenes in Roma that I cannot decide which one is the best. It is that amazing. And the fact that it's all in one shot just makes it even better. I'm not a huge fan of Children of Men. My experience with Cuarón, my bias is generally towards his foreign films, meaning my second favorite is Y Tu Mamá También. So I just want more of Cuarón shooting in his native country. I need more amateur actors. I need more strange sexual subtext. His career right now is all over the place, and I love it. Just less gravity. I don't like gravity.
I love gravity.
I'm going to make my list of favorites, but if I was making a list based on what films are best, this would, without a doubt, be number 1. Because it's beautiful. Beautiful in every single sense of the word. It's the best made film I've seen all year. It's just, it takes a look at the life of a young girl in Mexico, which obviously I can't relate to, but I just felt so connected to this character. And it just felt so simple, and yet there's so much substance in it. It doesn't need huge plot twists or shocking revelations. This is just a simple story of a young girl in her life, and it will resonate with you and stick with you forever. It's just so good.
Can't argue with that.
I am so mad. I'm just looking at globes right now, and I am so mad. Literally, the two worst films in each category. Why? Nat, please save us.
All right, so my number 5, which is at one point in the year, I had such a hard time deciding between this and my number 4 for the best movie of the year, and it's A Quiet Place.
Ooh. Ooh.
I think this might be my favorite horror movie of all time. It just
Man.
it just had such an impact on me, and this is one of the very few movies that made me cry. And you're gonna, if you've seen it, you know what moment it happens in. It just
What?
It just if you know one thing about me, I'm a huge Office fan. So obviously, I would always support John Krasinski and everything he does. He just knocks it out of the park. It was just an experience because I saw this in a theater, a packed theater, and everyone was quiet like for the entire movie until like certain moments, like certain jump scares, they made noise, but it was just amazing to see how everyone was in unison at this movie. And yeah, I really love it.
It is not on my top 10, but I will absolutely say that it was a phenomenal film for me. I love horror. I'm a big horror buff. I can't say it's my favorite horror movie ever, but I will say that I had a similar experience in theaters where I went with a full theater, and I can't remember the last time I really when I went for my popcorn, I was really just like, God, I can't make a noise. I can't make a noise. I just it is
My phone is just sitting here waiting to be shown off. There you go.
It is a good film. It's a great film. Probably my second favorite horror film of the year, to Hereditary. I did like Hereditary a little more.
I just closed my phone. Shit. I will say it is my number 39 of the year, but that doesn't speak to its quality. It's still an amazing film. I think it just lacked an emotional resonance. I will say it's probably one of the most interesting theater going experiences of the year, just because of, like you said, how quiet everyone was. I think my entire time there was nothing, and then I forget what moment it was. I think it was in the silo. There was this girl in the back who only time anyone ever said anything, she's like, "Oh hell no, don't fight him," and that was it. We all just died for like 5 minutes, and then we went back to just quietness. I was like, it is also my second favorite horror film of the year, but it's second to a Netflix film called Cam, which is awesome, and not just because there's boobies in it.
Well, that makes them awesome too, sure.
Also, for all you kids out there who have seen Bird Box, go watch Quiet Place.
Bird Box sucks.
It was okay.
It sucks.
I like Malkovich in it. That's about it.
It
Wasn't great, but
hate it more because it's like, oh yeah, you know that lady from Bird Box? You mean Sandra Bullock? She did not save America twice for nothing. She is Miss Congeniality.
It was a very overhyped film, I gotta say.
Absolutely.
And I don't know where too. I walked out, and my 14-year-old loves horror films. She was watching it. I was like, oh, what's this? Sandra Bullock? And oh, John Malkovich. And she likes horror movies. She's like, oh, it's okay. All right, whatever. And then the next thing I knew, like, everybody was talking about it. I'm like, that movie that I just saw bits and pieces of? Well, maybe I should go sit down and actually watch it. I did. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like A Quiet Place meets The Mist meets, I don't know, but it was okay. Nowhere on my list, obviously.
Oh wow. Okay, I'll give that stat later. Paul, what's your number? Whatever we're on, 5.
Well, everybody gave their 5 because Roma was my 5, so I already talked about that. So I'd be going to my number 4 if everyone's on.
Oh yeah. So no, it'd be to my number 5 then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my number 5 is a film that I'm surprised none of you have talked about. From the beginning of the year, it looked like a big front runner for one of the best, and yet somehow it just creeped off a lot of people's lists, or they just outright forgot about it altogether. Just a small, like, it is a small bias. I don't think it's big though. One of my favorite genres is sci-fi, and smart sci-fi being approached in a very populist way, I think, is an amazing sort of line Alex Garland walked in his film Annihilation.
My number 2.
Yeah! And
I did not
like,
forget about it at all.
Good. And if we're talking about like horror films, it's not a horror film, but it scared the shit out of me.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and back to my emotional tie into all these films. Only one film gave me an anxiety attack in the theater, and that was Annihilation. Because, jokes aside, Scare Bear is one of the most terrifying things in film history.
History. Oh, yes.
On top of that, like, you have Wife Squad of Gina Rodriguez, Tessa Thompson, and Natalie Portman, who had a banger year with this and Vox Lux.
Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson.
As someone who watched the Star Wars prequels at an age where he could remember a young Natalie Portman.
Yeah, I can and watch her grow. Oh, but now she is something else. Her that M16. Oof. What a badass she was. Holy shit.
Oh, God. And
but Garland, great. The direction was phenomenal. The visuals were just stunning. The score, everything about it was just used perfectly. I mean, the only knock anybody had was the ending, but I didn't care. I thought the ending still worked just well enough for me because I was all in. I was all in whatever they were doing. I didn't care where he was going. I just wanted to go with him at that point.
I think it's astounding that all of Alex Garland's films are at times both incredibly smart and incredibly populist at the same time, with Dread, Ex Machina, and Annihilation, where you take these very big and elaborate philosophical concepts and you boil it down to something really understandable almost. Where you could have directors like Kubrick, or another name that I can say that makes you sound pretentious and smarter than I actually am, and they use it to make these like avant-garde, like, universe expanding films. Oh, Terrence Malick, there you go. And then he takes his like, I can do that without having a stick up my ass. And Annihilation is just proof that he can handle sci-fi amazingly. I remember reading an article earlier this year talking about how few directors have done 5 films in a row that have all have been good, if not great. Garland, I think, can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And a conversation that this group was having months ago was what director has made the most impact with the first 3 films. Garland could own that. Like, of all time, Garland could own that.
Absolutely, I agree.
And the musical where they get the piece for The Shimmer, one of the best pieces of music of the year.
Oh God, easily. It's one of my favorite scores. I put it on all the time, and just takes me right back there. Nothing wrong with that film at all. I had nothing to say that was negative about it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Annihilation is also, believe it or not, my number 2.
Wow, I put it low.
Yeah, we didn't forget to talk about it, James. You just got to it too soon.
And the worst part is we all know each other's number 1s.
So you guys heard me right? 52. And
wait, 52?
Yeah, I said plus 50. 52.
You will get out of this call, Jake Peralta, and leave Captain Holt.
Annihilation is
and Kevin Costner on their own.
Annihilation.
You are dismissed.
Annihilation.
You will not speak.
Annihilation.
Banished from this precinct.
Annihilation is one of those films that I recognize why everyone loves. it just didn't vibe particularly well with me. And that's not to say I don't like it, because I do. I gave it, I think, 4 stars, but it just doesn't resonate with me the way it did with everyone else. Like, it didn't give me an anxiety attack or anything. But I do think it's very commendable what he did with everything with the philosophy, and it was just a beautifully made movie. It's visually stunning, and yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I just don't have the right time.
Hey, Nat. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars at 52.
Fix that.
Very good.
I will send you a Blu-ray so you can rewatch it and educate yourself on true quality film.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dad.
Oh, that's
That's
tough.
Officer Dad to you. Okay, you know what, Nat? Go ahead. What is your number 4 film that is 48 spots better than Annihilation?
Okay, well, I think this is one of the few times that me and Paul are going to disagree. My number 4 is Black Panther. And
Yeah.
I've talked in excess on this podcast about how I feel about Black Panther. I think for the longest time, I thought this was going to be king. I thought it was going to be my number 1 throughout the whole year.
King of
It's
Wakanda.
one of my what?
King of
I
Wakanda.
thought it was going to be Wakanda forever. I thought it was going to
How'd you like to
be.
do that?
Yeah, I am too.
I can do Wonder Woman.
So
I'm
yeah,
not going to try anything. I'm staying safe. Here.
one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, and it was just so good. Like, what they did, they got a predominantly black cast, and it's just such an important movie. I mentioned on the show before that I overheard this people talking, and this woman said that she hadn't gone to the movies in years, but she went out for this. That's how important this movie is. And what's more is that even though it's this important, it was good too. It's really good. Like, I still think, even with Thanos, Killmonger is my favorite MCU villain of all time. Like, he does such an amazing job. The whole cast does such an amazing job. And yeah, Black Panther.
Okay, I'll step in. I'll say that just for clarification, of my 58 films this year, it was 19th on my list. So it's not like I don't like it. I actually like it quite a bit. And I will wholeheartedly agree it is a very important film. Culturally, especially, I mean, the predominantly African American cast, African American director, African American, like, it was a very important film. But that doesn't rank as far as my enjoyment of a film goes. I think it was a great Marvel film. If I could put a comparison on the other Marvel films I watch, that's how I usually compare it, because that's where it goes. It was a good Marvel film. I think I get anti-hyped up when I see, like, Black Panther being touted for best film of the year, like in the Oscars and everything else. They're seeing a different film than I'm seeing. It was good, but it was The Lion King. It was good, but the whole last act was actually from The Phantom Menace. If you look at, like, the fight with the energy shield.
You want to try that again, Paul?
Go ahead. The Phantom Menace with the energy shields, the Battle of Naboo. The whole battle kind of the same type of thing all over
Just
again.
because they have 2 energy shields doesn't make them the same battle.
It just
I will say, Black Panther's looks a lot worse.
They looked very similar to me. Either way,
No, okay.
Michael B. Jordan was great. Michael B. Jordan was good. Killmonger is one of my top villains of Marvel, absolutely, hands down. Maybe Vulture gives him a run for his money, maybe, but
not more than
but
Thanos.
Thanos is top 3.
No,
Thanos is good.
No, it's Thanos, Killmonger, and Loki. That's your top 3. Nothing can break that.
Well, I love Loki, but it's hard to have.
Vulture, Thanos, and Loki.
Loki, I have a hard time ranking him because of his whole villain good thing. But if I had to put him as a villain, then yeah, Loki would actually be my favorite. Thanos is actually 4th on my list.
Yes.
Get
I like
out of
Vulture.
this.
I like Vulture a lot. I like Mel Keaton
Vulture's great.
from Homecoming. But I digress. Going back to
I will
There is a
ASMR all your bad opinions away, you two.
You can try. You can try. It is a great film. I cannot.
There is no try.
Not from a Jedi.
Not from a Jedi.
At the end of the day, I guess I definitely saw it after the hype also, and the hype definitely hurt it for me. But it's a good film. I'm not going to knock anybody for liking it. I think it's a fun, enjoyable time out. I just can't ever picture it being top 10 for me.
So here's a fun fact, and this is why saying how many films we've seen this year is important. It is also my number 19.
Okay.
And just the way I can describe the film, the only way I see appropriate, I think I mentioned this story before in our top 5 of the year so far back in July or whatever. I felt cinema history being made watching that film as they entered Wakanda, as the authentic score was coming up, as the ship was entering through the barriers, and you saw what neo-African culturalism can create in a world without the burden of white people. I said that only half jokingly, which is the crazy part. The film felt unique because especially I think most of us are fairly mainstream cinema fans, give or take some out there stuff. We don't see this. Even the super artful people don't see a lot of neo-African films or near. I'm getting the term wrong. I know I am. Just shut up. But being able to see this on this big screen is just. It's not even a film. It's an experience. And
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, the CG wasn't great. The plot was pretty simple, but it's seeing what you can do with this like inherent blackness, embracing it. That creates a unique experience.
Sounds like an album name. Sounds like the name of an album. Inherent Blackness.
It's the Lost NWA album.
There you go.
I'm just imagining no whites allowed. I'm not saying their actual name. Inherent blackness.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that. If you had a list of important films in the year, if we were just listing most important films of the year, probably right up there because it was a very culturally important film, absolutely. And I mean, I'm glad to have been a part of it as far as watching it. I'm glad to see it hopefully open the door for more. If you're asking me just to look at the film as this is the film, what are your thoughts on the film itself? Well, it's a little lesser than that. That's all.
There's also that there's a lot to say that it is the second highest grossing film of the year worldwide and the first domestic. It made over $700 million domestic. And so I'm going to try and vamp while I do this. Oh, wow, that is difficult to do. It is the third highest grossing domestic film of all time. Behind The Force Awakens and Avatar. Avatar's success legitimate only is that way because of 3D ticket sales.
Yeah.
After that, it's Star Wars. The fact that it beat that, in fact, it's ahead of things like Infinity War, Titanic, Jurassic World, The Last Jedi, Avengers, Incredibles 2. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, enough cannot be said about what that means for just how America is embracing minority culture. In a better way than what's the reality being shown in Blind Spotting, funnily enough.
This is what happens when you give people of color opportunities. Like people go to the theater and this is proof that it can be successful. You don't need a white lead.
Yeah, I think there's a thing I know I specifically mentioned before in our ideas of feminism, where there's two ideas of either embracing the womanhood or simply having a woman there, the different ideas of it. This is a film which takes that the idea with cultural appropriation of not cultural appropriation, just like having pride in being a minority. There is the idea of just being a minority and not having that be an issue, or it is part of your being. Which there was a scene, there was a line in The Hate You Give, which I thought was really good. I didn't mention it earlier. If you don't see my color, you don't see me. That's what this film felt like to me.
No.
It just exuded Black African pride, and that can't be said of any film maybe any of us have ever seen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
So just make your final note.
we were talking earlier about which director had the best 3 first films. Personally, I think it's hands down Ryan Coogler for me.
Because it's tough, because when you like really narrow it down, I think Annihilation and Ex Machina are 2 of the finest films of the decade, and so are Creed and Fruitvale Station. So it's like, what's better, Dread or Black Panther? And that's a lot harder than it sounds.
It's a pretty big debate going on.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're number 4, Black Panther. Paul, the person who hates Black Panther, take that as you will. What is your number 4?
Well, I gotta say, it's actually interesting. This is a great time for you to bring up Black Panther because for a movie to me that was, I can't say destroyed by the hype, but the hype hurt me for Black Panther. I expected it to do the same for this film, but it didn't. Number 4, I have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh my god.
This movie was so hyped up for me. I went, there's no way you can meet it. And I got to be honest with you, I'm an old school Marvel fan, and I lost track of things for a long time. I had never read anything about Miles Morales. I never knew anything about him except for he was the Hispanic Spider-Man. I knew nothing about his story, and I kind of went very blind. I was kind of like, all right, we'll see what happens. Everybody said it's good, and I was blown away. And this is by far my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time.
This movie.
Yeah. Matt, do you want to talk about how much you like this film?
Yeah, I can go on for days. I mean, okay, so I am a nerdy kid from Queens who likes science and is in the redheads. So all my life I've related to Peter Parker.
Oh yeah.
All my life I've related to Peter Parker most out of any character. And he just means so much to me. And also a few years ago I discovered Donald Glover during that whole make Donald Spider-Man thing. And Donald Glover is my favorite person. So when they created Miles Morales and based him off of Donald Glover, I was like, holy shit, Spider-Man and Donald Glover, I'm in. And to see a movie just do the character justice like this, it's just so important to me, and it means so much. But enough about all that. This movie is fucking awesome. It's
About
so
Spider-ish man.
style is just so unique and so beautiful. I can watch this movie 24/7 for the next month and not get bored. Like, oh, wow. I just love this movie.
That was funny, and none of y'all even laughed at that. I'm done.
I might not have heard it. I had a little bit of a sound issue for a second.
Do you mean Spider-ish Mambino?
Yeah, I was writing it down.
Thank you, Paul.
No problem. I'll give you the token laugh occasionally.
Oh, token.
Well, that's a good. I thought it was a brilliant move.
Unlimited power.
Limited power. I thought it was well done. I thought it was brilliant how they brought in all the different Spider characters. I thought I got to see Peter Parker. I got to see Miles. I got to see even freaking Spider-Ham. But Nicolas Cage as the Spider. So many brilliant moves this movie made. It's like little touches. I couldn't stop. I want to go back. I want to go back again with my kids.
Yeah, like how did they get this cast? That's amazing. Like Nicolas Cage, John Mulaney, a certain other person in a post-credit scene I won't spoil.
Chris
And
Pine.
Seinfeld, Jake Johnson was perfect in his role. It's just amazing. I'm blown away.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been nearly as good as it was. I expected it to be kind of like okay, it's gonna be an okay movie, but then holy shit, easily my favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah, me too. Like, and I cannot emphasize how much I love Homecoming. This topped that, and it's my 4th favorite movie of all time. That's how much I love it.
Wow.
I'm just gonna say like right now, I enjoyed the film. I didn't love it. I'm going to rewatch it eventually.
Piece of shit.
I know. I don't know what it is. I have to be missing something. I loved it. I loved watching it, but it lacked an emotional resonance that made me want to put it on my list. I really like Spider-Ham. And I will say though, one of the best moments in not scenes, but one of the best moments in film this year was what's Miles Morales' Spider-Man name?
Spider-Man?
Well, isn't it like the Spectacular Spider-Man or something?
It's just Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ultimate Spider-Man, right? When he's jumping off the tower in slow motion and the glass shards around him, that sent chills up my spine for like 3 minutes. It was perfection.
Yeah.
Aside from that, it was just a fun time. I didn't think much more outside of that.
Yeah.
I will say though, you love the Post Malone song.
Oh my god, get the fuck out of here.
I enjoy good music, and Post Malone doesn't make that.
Get out of here, goddamn. Treasure.
I think Nat's about to come through the screen to you. Ring style.
I will fly to California.
I'll gladly fight him on that, having
Annihilation so low.
Okay, that's true. And he's got you there. I got this.
Yeah. Well, here. So I'm gonna be sitting back for a while because my number 4 is Blind Spotting. So Nat, try and save your opinions now.
My number 4. Oh, number 3. You've already talked about it. It's Creed 2.
Oh, solid.
Oh, wow.
So Paul, what's your number 3?
Oh, actually, my number 3 and my number 2 have already been spoken about. My number 3 was actually Mission Impossible Fallout. And then my number 2 is Annihilation.
Wait. Okay, never mind then. My number 3 is Avengers Infinity War. Now it's number 2.
Okay. Well, this is the last movie we talked about for me. It's Searching. And for the longest...
Oh yeah. Nothing will ever be better than Searching. You all need to watch it and love it like I do.
How is it going now, Nat?
Go to hell, James. So, if you don't know, Searching, I didn't think anything would beat it, and Spider-Man did. I mean, what can I say? I love Spider-Man, but it doesn't take away from how amazing experience Searching was. Like, on paper, this movie should not be as good as it is, but it worked. The whole only on a screen theme it had. They played with it so well. And first 5 minutes, I was crying my eyes out. This movie just had such an impact on me. It made me so emotional, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I just loved it, and I'm loving that Asian Americans are getting more opportunities, like the director and John Chu. I did not know John Chu could act this well. Like, I know him from Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. If you would have told me when that movie came out that he would go on to do this, I would not have believed you. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I love it.
I would have believed you because he was also in a great film called Columbus from 2017. That if you look at John Cho, you should watch it. It also has Haley Lou Richardson.
I would have believed you because he was the MILF guy in American Pie.
He's right. John Cho invented the term MILF.
He did.
Yeah,
no, I agree though, man. I think that the found footage genre or subgenre or whatever had been so dated at this point. It was hard to find something new with it. This isn't quite found footage, but it's in that same ballpark, really. It committed to it 100%, and it did a great job making it feel like it wasn't an obstacle. Because a lot of times you kind of have to shoehorn things in when you're trying to do that all on one thing. You kind of shoehorn things, and it kind of feels a little false here and there. This one did a good job of making it seem genuine. And I agree, John Cho was phenomenal in this. Yeah, I saw it. I was pretty impressed. Just like I said, it just knocked it just out of my top 10. It was a beautiful film.
Yeah, this is another case where I really loved it, and it's just not as high as on my list. I will completely back up Matt's sentiments that it made me want to cry like a baby. I didn't get there all the way. It has one of the most engaging stories of the year. John Cho gives the performance of a lifetime. It's one of the only films I've seen where the concept of being on a computer like this little thing right here is actually utilized well
Right.
and has one of the best handled plot twists I've seen all year.
Good call. Good call.
Yes.
I didn't really completely see that coming.
So Paul, what's your number 2?
My 2 is Annihilation.
Great. So this is where I set the world on fire. So Nat, I want you to listen very, very closely.
Oh, okay. It's either one or two movies.
My number 2 is Beast.
Yes, there we go. Beast has been dethroned.
I found my Spider-Verse. What can I say? I legitimately, I don't want to say too much about Beast because I want to focus on my number 1, which we've talked about, but I think deserves more attention. However, I can't say enough about Beast. It is like the long-term girlfriend you have to amicably let go because a hotter woman just walked up and asked, and I said yes. Just some of the best performances of the year, if not the decade. One of the best finales I've seen all decade. Utterly engaging story from a point of view that we never see in any other film I've ever seen. And it features an actor who also has an amazing show on Netflix called Lovesick that you all need to watch. Thank you, Nat. Which means, Paul, you're up next. You have to watch Lovesick on Netflix.
Okay.
Yep. It's about
I got other
chlamydia.
movies to watch too, then, so.
About chlamydia. Great sell.
Yes. So, hey, Nat, you saw Beast. What did you think?
Okay, well, people don't know unless they're on the podcast, but me and James have had this thing going back and forth where his number 1 was Beast, my number 1 was Searching, and we've been trying to get people to watch these two movies and see which is better. And the irony of all this is, in the end, it's not our number 1. It got bumped, both of them. And it sounds like I'm rooting against this movie. I'm not, because I love Beast. Beast, I think it's like around number 15 or 14 or something like that. But it's just the best acting from any actress I've seen all year, and it's so good, and it's gonna get overlooked. And people need to know about this movie because it's amazing.
Just put it on my watch list.
And at 15 is higher than I have Searching or Spider-Verse. So official Beast is the best movie of the podcast. Boom.
Actually, I have 14. I just checked.
So even though we already know your number 1, Nat, recap your top 10 for us.
Okay, my number 10 is Mind the Gap. My number 9 is The Hate You Give. Number 8 is If Beale Street Could Talk. Number 7 is Overlord. Number 6 is Blind Spotting. Number 5 is A Quiet Place. Number 4 is Black Panther. Number 3 is Creed 2. And number 2 is Searching. And my number 1, which we've already talked about, is Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. And Paul, I know your number 1. We haven't talked about it yet. So to save discussion for the end, we're going to skip you for a second.
Okay.
We'll do me. My number 10 is Mission Impossible Fallout. My number 9 is Unsane. My number 8 is Creed 2. My number 7 is Revenge. My number 6 is Roma. My number 5 is Annihilation. Number 4 is Blind Spotting. Buy it. Number 3 is Avengers Infinity War. Number 2 is Beast. And my number 1, which I saw a week ago. And it's been on my mind ever since. And the way I described it to a friend was, it's like if you're crying and being a little spooned at the same time. Number 1 is If Beale Street Could Talk. One of the, at the same time, most heartwarming and sad movies of the year, with some of the best directing, composing, art design, acting, all year, if not the decade, creating a masterpiece to stand along beside Moonlight. Boom! All right, Paul, give us your top 10.
All right. My number 10 was Kodachrome. Number 9 was Ready Player One. 8, Solo Star Wars Story. 7, Avengers Infinity War. 6,
Low!
Tag.
Yes!
5, Roma. 4, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. 3, Mission Impossible Fallout. 2, Annihilation. And number 1, Bohemian Rhapsody. Let me just spread it out like this. It's hard to explain. I am the number one, or probably I should say number one, but the hugest Queen fan
The top
of
10
all time.
Queen fan?
I have been obsessed with the band since I was a lad, and especially in America, where they kind of been hit and miss as far as popularity goes, through the golden years and through the years where they couldn't be arrested. They have always been I would scratch for information about them. There was no way, unless this film absolutely blew chunks, that this was not going to be my number one. Because just to see my favorite band of all time, and shut your mouth, you shut your mouth right there. If you're going to say anything bad about it. If to see my favorite band and probably my favorite idol hero of all time, Freddie Mercury, on the screen sing the songs that are the soundtrack to my life, I'm almost crying now. It was so triumphant to me. Yes, were there inaccuracies? Yes. Was there things that didn't quite happen the way they're supposed to be? But you know what? A lot of the inaccuracies weren't as much as people. If you really know the band, then you'll know they weren't as bad as they were made out to be. The heart of the film, the spirit of the band, the spirit of what happened was there. There's some things that didn't have to happen the way it was, but
a lot.
I'll go. You tell me what you think is wrong, and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
I'm just
but honestly,
you're good.
You go ahead. I could tackle the list and I'll tell you why they did it and what they did. Well, there's a few that don't really make sense off that.
You know more than I do. Don't worry, I'm not going to fight you on this.
That Live Aid, that finale of Live Aid, which I put back to back, I've seen the real band do it so many times, and it was just so spot on. I cried like a little baby the whole time, and I thought it was so well handled. When I first heard or knew that they weren't going to go into Freddie's death, like really go into Freddie's death, at first I was kind of like, well, that's kind of big part of the movie or story. But then I realized afterwards that if they did that, it would have been Philadelphia the musical. You don't want that.
I want that now. I want that now.
But for this story, it was more about it would have made the story, instead of being about Freddie and his music and the band and their triumphs, their positives, it would have been the story about AIDS, which makes it an important story to be told. But it takes away from the band's story itself, I think. It would overshadow the band itself, which I think the story has to be one of triumph over adversity, a gay man in a very hetero time and world, and just, I can go on and on. And the soundtrack, oh my, Madonna mia.
Yesterday, I bought the soundtrack on CD because it is like the best version of Queen's Greatest Hits.
It has so many cool things about it. I love that the greatest hits that what people might not know is they reunited the Smile Band, Brian Roger and Tim Staffel. That was a 2018 recording of the three old men during their song that they did from 1969.
You said Smile. I was thinking about Uncle Cracker, one of the best songs of the last decade.
Yeah, not quite. But so that was another cool part of it. But Rami Malek really did a phenomenal job with a very mystical kind of guy. I mean, he was so, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but he was so private, it was such a mystery. But it was hard to see how he can make things tick, and how can he be truthful to that? Because when you're looking at somebody who's so private, you all have your own view of him, because he didn't give it to you, so you had to take in what he gave you, which wasn't, it's kind of hard to say what I'm saying. When you're somebody who's so mystery, you almost make up things in your head to fill in the gaps of who this person was. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
someone who's a mystery, who's not out there as much as like is a very private person. You have to kind of create this person in your head. So when he goes in there and has to create this person for everybody who has their own little version of Freddie Mercury in their head, it was such a daunting task. And he pulled it off beautifully. And him and Lucy Boynton, who was the heart of the film. No, I don't think she's got enough praise. Rami.
What?
Lucy
How was
Boynton
she
was
the heart of the film?
She was the heart of the film because people don't understand about Freddie is he was a gay man. But I'm gonna go into some of the right here. One of the biggest things was the idea of Freddie being gay versus him upping his relationship with Mary. But as a fan of the band, there's quotes to have where Freddie said he's had thousands of male lovers, but no one ever lived up to Mary. Mary was truly the love of his life. He's the one she left all of his money to. He's the one that she lives in his house now. Like everything about that relationship, Mary was so important to Freddie. Mary was really the yin to his yang, so to speak. Even so, I mean,
the bohemian to his rhapsody.
Exactly. Although one thing I want to say is another person who doesn't get any credit is Gwillem Lee, who played Brian May. Holy fucking shit, that was spot on, dude. Like if I closed my eyes, I heard Brian May talking. I heard Brian May speak. Like, yeah, that's spot on. But I mean, I know for me, this is a very personal reason why it's number one. I can get why it was a polarizing film. I don't have any arguments against that. I can't argue against that. But to me, it just meant the world to me. And that's what movies is. That's what movies are. And if I can go to that film feeling like crying, loving, and just have to go back and see it 5, 6, 7 more times, I had to do it. I'm so happy it was made. Happy it actually got to Succession after the fucking drama that it went through, and it was as good as it was to me. But you go ahead and you can go ahead and throw it out there.
I'll make 2 quick notes because I want to get on to other stuff.
Okay.
It is the 10th highest grossing film of the year. It can go up, it can go down, but it's currently in the top 10, which says a lot. And on top of that, my biggest criticism of the film were that Rami Malek's fake teeth were too big. It looked like they were trying to jump out and dance on their own.
I won't argue against that.
I know Merc had an overbite, but he didn't have 2 rows of teeth sticking out.
Okay, I can see that as an argument. I can't. That's one. You found the one thing I really have a hard time arguing with.
Yeah, so
it is my number 50 for the year. So it is the same situation where I respect it, I enjoyed it, but when I sit back and think about all the narrative inaccuracies to real life, it gets under my skin a bit.
I will say I understand all the criticism. I do feel like it's formulaic because by the numbers is generic, but damn, I love this film. Like that Live Aid concert scene was a fucking experience, and everyone needs to see this in the highest sound quality possible. Like I have it ranked as my number 19. It's not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I love it. I love it so much.
Right on.
Yeah. So that's our top 10. Before we get to listener feedback, I wanted to throw in something. A good friend of mine, Andrew Buck, who just came back from Bill Street, and I got a word from him on a review because, as we have to end with the truly best film.
We just did.
No, we didn't. He cites it as its street level drama elevated to a regalia of Broadway theatrics with a dash of Kubrick's Barry Lyndon for cross-cutting narrative structure. From Pedro Pascal to Diego Luna, Brian Tyree Henry to Coleman Domingo, even brief appearances from Ed Skrein, and Dave Franco, the film feels alive with a star-studded cast that lets the best parts of them shine in a natural manner. And we end with the best film of the year. And now we get to listener feedback, where many of you loyal listeners, or even just fellow Action Army fans, wrote in and gave your top 5. As I go through here, and let's list off a few of them. From Henry Sanchez, number 5 is Hereditary. Number 4 is A Star Is Born. Number 3, Infinity War. Number 2, mid-90s, number 1, Instant Family. Mid-90s was the second best skateboarding film of the year, and that's what really held it back.
Yeah. I love mid-90s. But
yeah.
I think it's top 30. I'm very surprised that A Star Is Born didn't get anything from any of us. However, and here's where I set up something fun,
Richard Eric Jarvie, who unfortunately couldn't make it today because of scheduling conflicts, wanted to have a little talkie. God, that's terrible. Here's what he said about A Star is Born.
What's up, call to action? I don't think I have to say much about my number one movie. I think you can hear it. I'm at a freaking party right now and I'm making everyone listen to Shallow. So I just think that A Star is Born has been the best directed, the best acted, and the best scripted. Everything. Just say why you love A Star is Born the best.
It's an awesome movie with awesome stars. It's just bits and pieces together. That's it.
Couldn't have said it better. My number one of the year.
Hopefully you guys like that. And back to listener feedback, so this is structured properly. Michael Campbell. Number 5 is Suspiria. Number 4 is Sweet Country, a film I never heard of. Number 3 is Shoplifters. Number 2 is Halloween. Number 1 is Hereditary. I wish I saw Shoplifters. I really do.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm Thomas.
I haven't seen a lot of foreign films, just generally. I saw my first foreign film in theaters today, actually, with Poland's A Cold War, which is very good. So that hopefully inspires me to go out and see more, rather than just watching Blue is Warm as Color for like the 5th time. Oh yeah, Danny. Danny sent us his because he meant to be on here, but something about his Wi-Fi going down or something, he wasn't able to. Here is his top 10 because he was meant to be on the show. Number 10 is Isle of Dogs. Number 9 is Searching. Number 8 is 8th Grade. Number 7 is Minding the Gap. Yes. Number 6 is First Reformed. Number 5 is Madeline's Madeline. Number 4 is Annihilation. Number 3 is Roma. Number 2 is Blind Spotting. And number 1 is Shoplifters.
I am shocked that.
Go ahead.
I'm shocked that we didn't talk about 8th Grade. Like, how is that on no one's list?
It just missed my top 10. Like, when I mentioned this a couple weeks ago in our chat about how I didn't think anything was going to break my top 10. 2 films did. 8th Grade would have gotten in. It would have, but it just missed. I just hit my pop filter. But also, I tried to watch Madeline's Madeline. I got like 10 minutes in. It is so much avant-garde weirdness. I couldn't handle it. Let's see. Big time action army person. Jim Green is top 5. Number 5 was Infinity War. Number 4 is Bumblebee. Number 3 is Spider-Verse. Number 2 is Star is Born. And number 1 is The Favorite. The Favorite is amazing. It's not as good as The Lobster, but Lanthimos is doing very good in English filmmaking.
Yeah, I don't have one bad thing to say about The Favorite. It's amazing.
Friend of the show, Emma McAllister. Her top 5 was, number 5 was Leaving No Trace. Number 4 is Blind Spotting. Number 3 is 8th Grade. Number 2 is Hereditary. Number 1, The House That Jack Built, which I'm trying to refrain from watching until the director's cut comes out. But I've heard it's a lot of fun in all the wrong ways. Another friend of the show, Jack Mayer. Number 5 is Hereditary. Number 4 is A Star is Born. Number 3 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Number 2 is Isle of Dogs. Number 1 is The Favorite. We're going to get people very mad for not having Star is Born in our top 10.
Or Hereditary, it seems too.
Yeah,
People love Hereditary.
Is going to be hit or miss though. Star is Born was in my top 10, and then it just bumped out of it from me thinking about
Mine
it
too.
more. Yeah. Finally, from Paulo Yama, his number 5 was Roma. Number 4 was Annihilation. Number 3 is Burning, which I sadly never got to see. Number 2 is Minding the Gap, and number 1 is Shoplifters. So that is the show. Before we sign off, we've gone through a couple of them already. But what are some of your guys' honorable mentions? Movies that maybe just missed the top 10. God. No, Matt. We're going to copyright strict. And then, what are some films from your top that just missed your top 10 or ones that you want to specifically call out for being whatever you think of them?
We talked about a lot of the movies in my top 20, but I want to talk about 3 just real fast. Deadpool 2. I know this is divisive and all, but this is gonna sound controversial. But barring any scenes without Stan Lee, this movie had the one scene that made me the most emotional in any comic book movie this year. And it was, it's just, it didn't quite, it's not quite on the level as the first one, but it's so funny. It's everything that Deadpool is, and they completely fucking nailed it. Josh Brolin is great as Cable. Zazie Beetz is great as Domino. I just really like it. It was my number 11. Next one I want to talk about is at number 15. Have Bad Times at the El Royale, which if you haven't seen it, is such a fun time. It's so
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it a lot. Like I understand why people don't like it as much, but I feel like it's not getting the proper respect that it deserves. It's really good. And at number 20, I have Beautiful Boy, which is a little bit controversial because Danny didn't love it, but I thought it was great. I thought Timothy Chalamet did a great job. I think Steve Carell was amazing, and yeah, it's a tough watch, but it's worth watching.
Okay.
Paul, what are some
Yeah.
you want to call?
A couple of ones that didn't quite make my top 10. One I wasn't sure if it was at 2018 or 2017. I think it opened in the festival, but Thoroughbreds. Okay, so I love that film. It was a great. I mean, I always forget her name. Let me see real quick. Oh, Anna Taylor-Joy
Anya Taylor-Joy
is awesome in that, and that's Anton Yelchin's last film, and it was just a bizarre film. Not bizarre is not the right word. You kind of it just drew me in the whole time it kept going, and you didn't know where it was going, and it took these twists and turns. Like, oh, this is where we're going now. Okay, but I thought it was a great picture. Another one I wanted to throw out there, Richard Darby and I actually agree on this one, was the better Venom, which was Upgrade.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I loved Upgrade, man. I had a fucking blast watching that. Maybe it was the fact that I didn't hear anything about it at all, and I just kind of turned it on one day. But I had a fucking blast with that.
Yes. I think Upgrade is the quintessential, well-made midnight feature.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I just turned it on one night, and I think it was at midnight too. It was like really late at night. I'm like, man, this is fucking sweet. Let's see. Another one. I guess that's it. Oh, what I will throw out there, not many people have heard of it, was a movie called Cargo on Netflix. It was basically it's a zombie movie or whatever, but it's done really well. Like it comes out at a bad time because we got Walking Dead and everything else. It's kind of like almost too much, but Martin Freeman is great in this, and it's a very well crafted zombie flick. Just for that, put out there.
So I have 7 films I want to call out, so I'll try to keep it brief. Destination Wedding is the rom-com that was made specifically for me, and it is utter perfection. It is nihilism in a romance film, which is just a perfect combination. 8th grade, like I mentioned before, it captures teen/preteen angst in a wholly unique and remarkable way. Bumblebee, which I saw yesterday, has no reason for being as good as it is. I want to call it like one of it's probably the best non-Marvel blockbuster of the year, like by leagues. I was engaged every second of it. I highly recommend it over Aquaman, even though Aquaman's just fun. This is like Aquaman's fun with like a lowercase f. Bumblebee is fun with all uppercase and like 4 N's. It's amazing.
Good time.
Yeah. I have the favorite, or actually, I've already been over the favorite. It's fine. Mary Poppins Returns. I'm not a big fan of the original. I described it as it was a warm hug. Mary Poppins Returns is amazing. I bought the soundtrack to have listen to it in the car. It almost has a better soundtrack than Star is Born. It almost does. Not triple. The cover's not the book, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Oh god, I'm failing the showdown. There's another song I'm thinking of.
Which part of the movie?
Animated. No, it's not. It's the underwater one.
Oh.
Can you imagine that? It's It's one of my favorite songs of the year. Like, even including normal music, it's one of my favorite songs of the year. It is amazing. And speaking of Netflix, Private Life. It is this amazing, like, small little story that gets every ounce of drama out of the characters possible in an amazing way. I haven't seen a lot of, like, serious Paul Giamatti. He kills it. Catherine Hahn is amazing. It's one of my biggest recommendations of the year, not because of the quality, but because I don't know anyone else who's seen it. But it is absolutely worth your time. It's the kind of movie you can put on in like 5 years and wonder, why haven't I seen this? So get on it now. And the real choice for the movie having no reason to be good as good as it is, it's the sequel to one of the worst musicals of all time. It is Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. It is a delight. It is just an hour and a half of pure fun. It has one of my favorite finales of the year. Lily James gives a perfect performance. This is not a joke. She gives one of the best performances of the year just by being herself. And in this one, they can actually sing. There isn't a Pierce Brosnan number where he gets a whole 5 minutes to himself.
Well, that made that film excellent. That was the best part of that film.
Get out of here, Paul. No one asked your opinion.
It takes the first film, throws it out the window, it just full on yeets it out, and then it makes a new film, which is so much better.
All right.
Oh, also, The Party's Just Beginning, which is Karen Gillan, who you know as Nebula, her directorial debut. It's this great little commentary on depression and suicidal tendencies in her hometown in Scotland. I believe it's Scotland or Ireland. I forget which one. Either way, it isn't great. However, it's worthy of a mention because she does an amazing job directing in it and acting in it. I think you should check it out if you have like $5 spare to rent it on iTunes. And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Seeing as we're not a Smowdown show, I'm not gonna have to plug everything. Plus, our dad's in a divorce right now. I'm not sure if you guys want to take a bias or not. We can discuss that later. Ben is a betrayer. So why don't you tell where people can find you?
You can find me on facebook.com/MissMarvel13. Also on letterboxd.com/90x4. Give me a follow.
Paul.
On Twitter, Paul_Denuzio, and that's my name on Facebook as well. I'm in both Action Army and the Action Movie Anatomy Facebook pages.
Great. You can find me on Twitter at Temecula Film Guy. That is at TEMECULA Film Guy, and on Instagram at James_Spence99. That is it. I think that's
Sweet.
Yeah, that's not our end to 2018. I called it next week, but whenever we can, we are going to do the bottom 5 worst of the year. In which, Paul, I look forward to having you on because I'm going to tear Ready Player One to pieces.
Bring it on, bitch.
Gladly. You forget, I am the editor. I have unlimited power.
And on that note, we will see you guys whenever we record next. Have a great Schmodown break.
Catch you later.
Hopefully, when things come back, we can be in less chaos.
Yes.
Peace out.
Yes. Take care.